All right, good morning. It's an awesome opportunity anytime we get a chance to come up here and talk about our football program. I get really excited about the growth and potential and things that are going as we move forward. Following that first regular season, a ton of really good things have happened. And exciting news for our Rebel community, our alums, our families, our players, and the city of Las Vegas as everything continues to trend exponentially in the city. Just to be part of it's incredible. So today, just a couple notes we'll go through just since last press conference, December 15th, and that first wave, what we like to call it nowadays, of signing. I think there's some things that I'd be remiss to mention prior to mention the student athletes that we did mention in the first press conference. I think the group we've got academically has really set a new bar, and I need to mention that because they've gone back-to-back semesters with David Wedley and breaking the GPA in our program. This semester to 2.94 and cumulative to 3.07. I think that core value that we hold really high for those guys, they've continued to reach up and grab that bar. And that process of the team is no different than anything else we demand. And so that's something I make sure that those guys understand that doesn't come before anything else. The social responsibility these guys have done since break, in addition to academics, since our program's been off since that Thanksgiving, something we highly encourage and orchestrate in many ways as we can with the community. They've got involved in the community and service, and they've responded. The surge in leadership when it comes to their social responsibility in our city has been awesome, and we'll continue to press the gas with that and encourage those guys to do that. Things that they've got involved in over the break that we've been excited to find out more about and being part of: the Thanksgiving food drive, the food pantry project, the Sleep in Heavenly Peace, Build the Bed project, the KLUC toy drive. All those things that our guys were part of I think are worth mentioning because it's bigger than just between the lines and signing day and all those things when it comes to the student athlete. We know that those two core values, the academic integrity and the social responsibility, will go much, much further than just a signing day or anything we do on the football field. And so we hold that at a really high standard, and I'd be remiss not to mention that since the time we've been off. As we move into the athletic piece, some general notes to date. We get 3 classes in now, obviously. The 220 class, the 2020 class in those 3 weeks since we got here was a fantastic class, and it proved to have some really good guys in the 21 class. Another class that we signed was phenomenal in a COVID and a pandemic year, hoping they got off the plane, and it was who it was, and they've done a fantastic job. And now to add the 22 class to this, you've got 74 total signees since we've been here. We look back at as a roster management as a group to kind of see if our philosophy's taken shape and a development process of kind of the program and what we believe of in a big scope is taking shape. And so you look at 48 high school signees, 11 junior college guys, and 15 transfers. And so that balance is something we talked about when we first got here. And I think that the recruiting department with Geiska and Shelby and the rest of our staff have really pressed and stayed progressive in what we wanted to do. The high school level being a developmental piece is really important to us, and getting young guys in here. The portal being something we want to be progressive and active in because it's a piece of it now, and the timeline's different than just a 1-for-1. You get guys that we'll talk about today that are 3-for-3 and 4-for-4 and got a lot of time left. And so you have to put them you have to evaluate that and their value against each other in that pool effectively. So my hat's off, and again, I'm really thankful for the recruiting department and Geiska and Shelby to really keep a really pointed eye on exactly how we're building the roster. Today's our second wave of 22s. Most importantly, we had a group that's got high character, low ego, and high output in all areas, starting with academically and socially, and you'll see that when you meet these young men. A lot of these guys were part of that first wave, and we couldn't announce it until they got here. And so a handful of these guys we'll mention. Every guy we'll mention here today is on campus, is working out, is enrolled, is in classes, and part of the program here already in the offseason, and that's huge for us. So I'll start with the quarterback, Harrison Bailey, a transfer from Tennessee, a 4-for-4 guy with the COVID years, got 6'5", 225 pounds, big kid, awesome family. Angela and Orville came out for their visit. Really, really impressed by that group and his brothers when they came out to beat us. He's a former top 100 prospect, a top 3 pro-style quarterback in the country when he came out, U.S. Army All-American. I did know of him coming out of the last stop at Oregon when we were there, and obviously kept a good enough conversation going to where we could pick it up where it left off when we got back into this. Elite 11 finalist, one of the 5 players in history to throw for 10,000 yards in the state of Georgia, which is no small feat. Started in the SEC as a freshman. They had a coaching change, and sometimes that just changes direction, as we all know. He's former high school teammates with a wide receiver we'll mention later, Ricky White, and some really, really critical skills and traits that we really liked in regards to his football IQ, leadership, love of the game, wants to be coached at the quarterback position at a high level and demanded of. Good skill set, delivery, pace, arm level, anticipation, strength, some other macro level stuff at that position. But exciting to have him here and to have the years he's got left in that room and to amplify the group in general. So excited to add Harrison to the quarterback room. Second guy we'll mention, we just kind of noted a little bit, Ricky White, a wide receiver from Michigan State, 6'1", 175, another guy that's a 4-for-4 with an asterisk because of COVID senior year. Has a lot of time with us. His dad, Ricky, senior, came out and was great to be part of his visit when he came out. Again, redshirted in 21. 20, he had 8 catches for 196 in a big game versus Michigan, played sparingly in that COVID year. Top 55 wide receiver nationally coming out of high school in the class of 2020. Played with Harrison, originally from Atlanta, and another guy who's ultra competitive, has true size, speed, hands, route running, separation, burst, can finish, can take it the distance, big home run threat. Good football IQ for still being a young guy, and has definitely big play material. So excited to get Ricky here. Ricky's already out with our guys working out, and those guys have accepted him in a phenomenal way. So he's a great addition to that wide receiver room. Seneca McKee is a wide receiver at Askren College. He's a D2 guy. Went in, was ultra productive, 6'2", 185, great length. He's 3 for 3. Family mom, his mom, Wanda, came out, and we visited with her. She was fantastic as well in meeting us and being part of our family. In 21, he had 96 catches for 1,133 yards and 7 touchdowns. In 2020, had 54 catches for 616 and was an AP D2 second-team All-American. Originally from South Carolina, ball skills, great frame, maturity, has played. Good toughness, speed, burst, can get out of breaks, competitive, and ball skills. So some more range, length, and speed to add to the room. Fourth guy we'll go to here is Kobe Bryant, an offensive line transfer from SMU, 6'5", 325 pounds. I think he's the only super senior we've got in this group. It's a 1-for-1, which gives us an instant 1 year insert into our offensive line and inject some maturity, some experience, size, and length. Played 22 games at SMU. A veteran guy, played position flexibility at tackle and guard. Is awesome. Originally from Michigan, but again, the ability to compete right away on the edge is going to be great. It's going to be a big deal for us at the tackle position. Pass set skills, hand placement, got good intelligence, ability to be physical and tough in the trenches. So a lot of pluses there, and we saw some upside there for a 1-for-1 guy that we felt could add an instant impact to our group. Preston Nichols, another offensive lineman from Charleston Southern, a 6'2", 290-pound guy, 2-for-2 guy. His mom, Jada, and Bryant came out, fantastic family that got to come all the way across the country to come see us and meet us. Was teammates of Davion, who we got last year. And if that was any reflection about his character and where he came from and who he was, that was a big tell for us in regards to what we were getting as a person. Second highest rated offensive tackle in FCS by PFF. He has 6'2" frames, a little bit, if you don't dive into it and do it the right way, you might miss on length in thinking that a guy like that couldn't play tackle, but he's got a 6'9" wingspan. And so when we put guys up and we make sure we get the size and growth potential of these guys, it's a big piece at that position to kind of see if that length becomes advantageous to you or something that you may miss. And I think we did a great job evaluating that length. We'll see. He's got some position flexibility as well, inside and outside. And experience, maturity, physical. Probably I'm going to bet one of the strongest guys in that room. And again, good quickness for his size, ability to get the second level, pad level, heavy hands. And again, I think the length for him was probably overlooked when you just look at the back of the newspaper numbers. So excited to get him here. Jordan Eubanks is the sixth guy we'll mention, an outside linebacker transfer from Florida State, 6'2", 200-pound. Really a 4-for-4, another freshman. Dad Sterling and Mom Caroline came out, a top 100 prospect out of Texas in 21. Played at Powerhouse, Denton Guyer High School, for all of us know where that's at in Texas. So well prepared and versed coming out of high school in that program. SEC, ACC, Big Ten offers, but a really mindful young man, smart, high football IQ, played in good high school football, and he's a winner. Football IQ, speed, size, burst, physicalness. At the line of scrimmage, we feel is going to be, he'll grow into very similar to what Brennan Scott's doing for us on the edge with that size and growth potential. So excited about that. Tackles well, great in space, and can really run and loves to hit you. So that fires us up. Trent Holloway is the seventh guy we'll mention, and last one I think on this list. He's a San Francisco City College teammate of the other two that we've got also. 6'1", 200 pounds, 2 for 2. Mom Fertitta came out originally from Clovis North High School in Fresno, which is another really good program there in the Valley. Again, the JC National Championship at San Francisco City, like our other guys. So it comes from a program that's used to winning. Mature kid, range, speed, size, football IQ, ultra competitive on the back end. He's a winner, mature. Ball skills are really good for being a defensive back. It may slide in. We never know. He get in a wide receiver line. We'll find out what happens. Got to look around for the wide receiver coaches there. Work ethic, confidence, and wanting this to be great. So really excited that we found Trenton kind of late in the process to add to the back end. That's the group that we've got a chance to put together in the back end on the second wave of this. The thing that's going to stick out in all this stuff today, and you're seeing now, is there's going to be a third wave. There's going to be another wave of guys, and I think that's the world we're living in right now with how this is working. And we're prepared for that. We're keeping a couple in our pocket. We've got an organizational sheet that we're ready for as we see things matriculate in spring, let alone you'll have more attrition that everyone's got. And until the parameters are set on transfers and this free agency and there's windows on it, you've got to be ready and progressive and have a plan. And I think right now we're all trying to figure it out on the fly, but we're thinking about it regularly and we're prepared to add, even if we go all the way up into fall camp, which is exciting. And those positions we can mention later. There are some ones we've got our eyes on in regards to what we'd like to get, whether it be more tight ends, whether it be more D linemen, some more corners. There might be a punter in there and a specialist as we get into it, just to make sure we're in position to put ourselves in the right spot through special teams. But that's part of our process. We did that last year a little bit, as you remember, and that'll continue to be that way until we see a change in the landscape of how we feel we can do it and be the best shape we can as a roster. A couple of the notes, just a note before we get into that. Anything else is staffing notes. We hired a really talented group of staff members, as we talked about when we first got here. We've talked about forever. I'm humbled by the group we've got up there and that we had to bring in hard-working, dedicated people. It certainly means that sometimes you're going to have guys over the last 12 to 15 months that are going to have opportunities that advance their careers and their families elsewhere, and we're going to have that. We've got great people. We've had that happen at all levels, and from coaching to athletic training to GAs who've gone on to video. I mean, every room in here has got a talented person in it that we feel that someone's going to want, and we've proved that. And so I'm excited. I want everyone in the program to develop and to have the best abilities to move forward with their families and their profession. But that also puts us in position to drive the interest up in our openings, and we're seeing that reflective in who's calling us now to get on board. So it's exciting in regards to the foundational future of our program when it comes to who we put around the young men to get done what we need to get done. So excited about that. Last note, kind of to get into what's happening now with the program, just to give everyone kind of an inside view. We started back already. We're in our first phase of our second regular season, really, our second regular offseason. It sounds crazy to say. It's second time they've been together in December and January and February, and it's showing. It's the reflections are good. The phase one right now is 4 weeks long for us. These guys are in a team run 3 times a week. They're in a lift 4 times a week. There's yoga 1 time a week in the middle, and then a mindset training 1 time a week. And that's really what we do for the next 4 weeks. Staff, and obviously we're in a cultural assessment piece where we look back both at football and what we're doing program-wise in the next 4 weeks for us to give some feedback back to our guys and ourselves on how we can also do what we do better. Phase 2 starts the end of February. That's a 4-week fourth quarter program, as some of you guys have heard me talk about, and that's where we get back on the field and kind of our AM workouts. Many in the old school called it mat drills and things like that. That's an escalated AM operation that really puts our guys up against the wall mentally and physically. It's an awesome opportunity that we grind guys out and get them, put them to another level. That's a 3 times a week lifting and a 2 times a week fourth quarter training. The last phase will be spring ball. That'll start March 29th. That'll be a Tuesday, Thursday setup, as we've done before, if everything's set. And then we've got a tentative scrimmage that we're working through, and A.D. Harper's doing a fantastic job helping us out and trying to build the date around the end of March. We're going to try to do something, see if we can do something a little bit different and special for the fan base and for the city, and whatever we can do to make it to elevate that process. So that's a moving target a little bit, but that'll be at the end of March, whether it be the 23rd, that second to last weekend, or the 29th and 30th. The little bit of a hurdle there, as we all know, the NFL draft's coming back in that same weekend. So again, we've got awesome people around our program to help us manipulate that and get out ahead of it and communicate with Allegiant, communicate with our program, the city, to best effectively get eyes on our program, people here to see it, alumni to be back, people on the field, recruits to be here for junior days, and all the things that come with that. So that's really it. That's the shape of where we're at right now and kind of the state of the program. Mark's got a microphone. I'm ready.
There we go. This thing work? No. Test. Can you hear me, Coach?
Yeah.
The mic isn't working. Mic? No? It's on? Okay. Coach, Harrison Bailey and Ricky White, how much did their relationship, playing in high school and all of that, influence both of their decisions to come to UNLV?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a hidden secret that those relationships from players, when you recruit them, carry weight. I mean, those guys have conversations that you're not privy to because of their relationship and their trust and their bond and their time together. And so I think that the world we live in is we're not naive to that. It's been that way in high school. You get 2 high school players that come together, and now you're getting where, I mean, candidly, the relationship I had to pick up and have the same text thread with Harrison from 2 years ago, those relationships. So I think Ricky and Harrison definitely had an impact on each other, wanting to play together. As soon as Harrison and we started a dialogue, Ricky was also communicating with him on what he was doing, and then he started a dialogue with me, and we started a dialogue together, and it worked out. And so it definitely played a role. And very similar to Davion and Preston, and even Seneca's got a background with Tyson Player. And so those things correlate. And I think that's a tribute, really, if your players inside your program can reach back to guys outside your program and tell them about the good things that are happening and the people they're around, I think that's a positive reflection on your program and what you're doing. So it's humbling to see and happy, obviously.
Coach, one of your pillars is talent acquisition. And with National Signing Day now being changed with the transfer portal, can you talk about the difference in relationships between how you recruit a high school student and how you recruit somebody in the portal?
Yeah, so the question is obviously, recruiting from the high school level and going on to campuses and then not being able to build a relationship maybe with someone who's in another university that you really can't contact. I think that, kind of what you're alluding to, Joe, is what you still have to do is you still have to recruit your area and still recruit your position and develop relationships with coaches and players, because that might come back. They may come back home. So an example of that is we're not going to recruit our local high schools any harder or better than we ever have, regardless if guys think they're going somewhere else, because there's a chance that they could come back. And I'll use Las Vegas as an example because there's a lot of really good players here. So the opportunity we've had just in this, finally, to get people in this building most recently, which is fantastic. Cultivating those relationships are important, because at any moment you could get a call. Until those parameters are set up where there's windows or rules or regulations in this free agency, you've got to do that, because that's the world that's happening. It's taking shape. And so keeping those relationships, doing it the right way legally, is a really important facet of what we've got to do. And we're not naive to that. That's going to come back. It's already doing that.
Coach, with these guys that are already here, the transfers and the guys from the early signing class, what difference are you seeing day to day in this program? How are these guys already making an impact, and what are you seeing from them?
Well, I mean, the talent and the character of those guys that we've got in there, we've raised the bar on what we want, what we're looking for each year. And so you have to figure that with the time that we've spent with our guys and the progress we've made on our team, that these guys have to come in and elevate that as well and fit in quickly, because you've got to out-recruit your last classes every year. And so this is a group of ultra-competitive guys, a lot of maturity in the group, obviously very talented, good character, because, again, we're holding these guys to a really high standard in everything we do, being on time, being punctual, treating each other right, doing things on campus the right way, being in the community. All that stuff, it's non-negotiable. It comes way before. Right now, we're not playing football. There's no scoreboard right now, but that's our scoreboard. And so if you could bring in a group of guys who doesn't have those assets, it's going to be really hard to fit in. And so you've got to recruit that way. And so there's a few guys that maybe would have been on that list, but we brought in and it didn't fit. It wasn't a fit. It wasn't going to cultivate in a positive direction, regardless of how well the film looked football-wise. And so those guys have come in right away. And they've been guys who have low ego. They fit right in. They didn't come in expecting anything. They like to work. They like the rigidness. They like the demand of the program. They like the offseason. They like Coach File. They like what we do in the training program. And they're fitting right in. And I think our group is now, the other piece to that is that our group is strong enough mentally and together to allow those guys in. They're not a group that's not allowing people in because they're insecure. Our group's becoming more secure. They're trusting each other. They like each other. They like the idea now that iron sharpens iron. Don't bring anyone in here that's lesser than me. That doesn't make us any better. And so that's been a big pillar in the beginning is we're going to bring in guys that makes iron sharpen iron every time, And so on and off the field.
You guys have 4 wide receivers in this class, all in that 6'1", 6'2" range. What are you hoping to see from that room this year, especially with these new additions?
Yeah, I mean, the length of those wideouts is really important, obviously, in today's football. We look back, we're looking back right now, kind of because we're just getting used to this conference, really, and seeing kind of how it plays out. It's different than places we've been, whether it be NFL, whether it be Pac-12, whether it be the Big 12. There's some matchups there that you've got to get into, and I think that having that size and speed and separation is something we want at wide receiver. It doesn't have to be a 6'6" guy, and that doesn't mean the 5'10" guy that's got good length and ball skills that can separate is obsolete. That's nowhere the case. But these guys, the guys in this class at wide receiver, being specific, is guys we believe can make an instant impact. Not guys that, there's guys on that list right in there, going on back to Bobo, who was also mentioned in the high school class in the first phase, guys who we believe can come in and impact in fall camp or right now in spring ball and get on the field and create advantages across the field and really be vital in the offense. Be more effective, explosive, put some more space in the field and stretch the field and be aggressive.
You mentioned defensive line, defensive backfield, and tight end as places where you're looking to get stronger in this potential third wave. What are you looking for from guys that you wanted to bring into those rooms? Well,
I mean, with all those rooms obviously have different skill traits and things you want. At the tight end position, we've got a young group now. Kaleo and Bryant and Sean, all those got young guys with Gio leaving, was I think the third most highest targeted guy in our offense. They know that tight end in our system play is got to be a guy and be effective. And so that opportunity with those young guys to add maybe a couple older guys into the room, some maturity maybe is kind of what I'm keeping an eye out for. Because I think this goes back to one of their press conferences we had. You still have to look at the holes in your roster because, the one thing you do have to be, and it's not the elephant in the room. If some of these guys leave, like have happened to other programs, and you lose 4 or 5 guys, you have the potential in a room to really be decimated. And right now, there's no parameters to that. So you there is a little bit of there's some strategy to that. Taking an older guy who can't transfer again is maybe one thing that some people are looking at. And so I think that strategy, not to diminish his talent and ability to make a difference for just having the sake of having a guy who can't leave, all plays into adding that at all positions. D-line, obviously, we're huge on the bigs, guys who can be effective. We did a good job on the run game last year. And so those guys have the standard that we understand. They've got to be able to control line of scrimmage and get to the quarterback. This is a quarterback-driven conference. Well, it was last year. It was 5 or 6 fifth-year guys that could spin it. But it'll continue to be. That's the age of football right now. You're throwing the ball 37 times a game in the conference championship in the NFL. I mean, that's the way it goes, So I think getting after the quarterback is one thing there. And then the back end, obviously, with as many times, the other side of that, as many times as people are throwing the football, you got to defend the pass. And there's a lot of effective passers and wide receivers in this conference that I think we're going to try to play catch up to.
Speaking of quarterback, how does the addition of Harrison, change that dynamic among the quarterbacks? And do you anticipate a competition in the spring now that he's in the picture?
Yeah, Sam, I think that these guys all know, and I'm very transparent with the group. Anyone we add to any of these rooms is coming in to compete for a job. And I don't want anybody in the room who's the complacency is what kills programs. It kills any of us, really, at the end of the day, is when you're at a spot where you feel like you may get complacent, that's where someone can come in and beat you. And I think adding guys, fuel to the fire in every room, Harrison to the quarterback room, which the quarterback room with Doug and Cam and Jaden coming in and Harrison and the two. I mean, that's a competitive room, and it has to be that way. And I'll add another guy next year, and they know that. There's no hidden secrets there, and we'll do that with every room. We want guys who are going to add value to the whole team. Guys who are in the room currently can't be complacent. We're going to put iron sharpens iron in that room. We're going to put talent in that room. I think it'll raise the expectations. It'll raise the demand, just like if we did it in our own jobs. You put someone behind you, usually there's a response, good, bad, or indifferent.
Losing Charles Williams, you talking about keeping some space open for the transfer portal for these later windows. Is running back one of those positions that you'll be keeping an eye on as you continue to go here?
Yeah, we evaluated that position. Obviously, we're losing. Let's start, Charles. You're losing the biggest piece of your offense, a huge piece of your offense, let alone historically. And so to replace that, and the good news is we've done that before at other stops. We've had significant production at that position. We've got a high standard for it too. And so settling for someone to replace that and bring that into that room isn't going to be someone we're going to feel like, oh, we just need a guy to take a guy. You got to come into this offense and into that room now with a standard that's understood. I mean, there's a 1,000-yard rusher walking out of the building, and so the next guy's got to get ready to pick that flag up to be effective as an offense. And so we've assessed a bunch of guys in the second wave. We're still doing it to date, and we're confident that there's going to be an opportunity for us to add value to that room, albeit coming soon or this next wave or in summer. So we're staying open to that, but it is losing Charles is a big piece. It's probably the top point offensively that we've got to find out to find that value and find that production back.
So we talked about numbers in the first signing day that you could take upwards of high 20s, maybe early 30s. So you're at 17 now. So what do you think you're going to wind up with through the summer? Well,
to be really transparent, you got potentially another 8 spots or go. But then the thing that's the moving target is the attrition that's legal. The attrition's someone decides they don't want to be here anymore. It could happen today. Someone walk in there and go, you know what, I want to go another direction. And that's what we have to be ready for. What the NCAA did and allowed us to do is that we talked about this a little bit earlier, I think in the first press conference, they allow you for this +7, a 25 +7. And that's really for this year to see how it goes. And so with that, you can replace up to 7 guys you may lose at a certain time up into fall camp. If they leave, you can replace that 7 a 1-for-1, for lack of a better term. So the math there, you could end up with 8 guys to finish it out with, if there were 7 that left spring ball, replacing that 7 again, you could end up with anywhere from 12 to 15 guys by the time you get to fall camp. And that's why the roster management and the numbers and the late night emails with Nep Maceno and doing crazy roster management with Geiska is driving them through the wall. But you got to be ready, and going into a camp without 85 guys and a full 105 roster and being ready to go is really the scariest thing that all of us are going through right now as coaches, because you can't go through spring ball and lose 15 guys and try to get the health and safety across in a fall camp.
With Ricky White, did you have to do some extra vetting? Are you confident he's ready for a fresh start?
Yeah, with all the guys, it's a good note, Steve, in the extra vetting. So I think the one thing that I'm proud about our group doing is we weren't swift. We weren't just a quick reach into some of these guys that maybe didn't have a ton of background with recruiting for an extensive amount of time. We called trainers who we knew. We called their high school coaches from 2 years ago or 3 years ago. You called the position coach. You called the DPP at the last school he left and asked how he was off the field. We tried to build as much a background and picture as we can for these guys. So some extra vetting with some, depending on who it was, absolutely, to find out exactly what any of these individuals may have, what they're looking for, why it didn't work, and to finally get a feel if it's a fit. And sometimes there's things you work through, and sometimes there's things that you learn about each other. Sometimes it's just an environmental change, and so you pan it out and you see where the value's at and think it'll work. And then you bring them in and you sit with them and you have a weekend, you have a dinner, you meet their parents. You do those things that I think are really, really important to the process of bringing someone into your home.
You're bringing in a ton of receivers. If everyone comes back, you're going to have a really full room. So people are kind of jumping to the conclusion that maybe the offense changes. I mean, what do you envision? Is this a team that could be throwing 35, 40, 45 times a game?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing about the offense is and it's been this way since we go back and we first did it, is we put it around the players. It's developed around who you got. There's a core philosophy to it, and I think that there's some things to it that we know we do. But I think at the end of the day, I'm not from the tree where it's a square peg in a round hole. It's you got to make sure you got the weaponry and the people you got and build it around them. We got a pretty effective young quarterback group. We had the opportunity to go in and find some really effective wide receivers. I mean, we've had those guys before. I mean, we've had the Keenan Allens before. We've thrown the ball 300-400 times in a season. I mean, we did last year. I think Kyle and Steve had 80 targets each, upwards of 80 targets each. And I think at the end of the day, we're not afraid to spin the ball around and be effective. This game is an explosive game now. You win the explosive play battle, you win those big plays, you're able to play catch, you got a chance. And I think that our aggressiveness and the way we feel about it will be reflective in how we play. I can't tell you exactly what the number is, but we're not going to be afraid to spread those guys out and put them out there.
You have some competition now at quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
You just lost your offensive coordinator and quarterback coach. So do you have something in mind, and how quick can you turn that around to fill the hole?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's me and Glenn go way back, and to have him had come in, if we remember, that in itself was a change. Danny Langsdorff was here up until right before we started spring ball. Then he went to Colorado, and all of a sudden I turn around and go find Glenn. And Glenn came in right before spring ball and had to learn the system. And so I've got a couple people that are I think guys I'd believe in. I know there are absolutely a lot of guys who are interested in this job. It just got to be the right fit. But the good news is that's the reason why I never stepped out of the room. I was in the quarterback room every day. I was on the field with them, called the plays. The offense is the same offense we've called for and moved around a little bit here and there for the last 4 or 5 years. And so I'm excited about the progression, minus obviously losing a really good coach in Glenn. I'm excited also about the opportunity that maybe some new blood and some new eyes and a little change up here and there in offense might present itself. So good candidates, and we'll go through that as effectively and swiftly as we can. Thank you. Thank you, guys.